If this feels uncomfortable to hear, that's probably because it's familiar. You did what you were supposed to do. You worked. You stayed disciplined. You avoided stupid mistakes. You didn't gamble your future away. And yet, money still sits in the back of your mind like a constant pressure, not panic, not disaster, just this quiet, exhausting stress that never really goes away. That stress shows up in small moments. When you check your account even though you already know the number. When you hesitate before buying something you actually need. When you mentally calculate how long you could survive if something went wrong. On paper, your life looks responsible. In reality, your nervous system never fully relaxes. And that's the part nobody talks about. Because according to the rules you were taught, this isn't supposed to happen. If you do everything right, stress is supposed to decrease over time. Effort is supposed to compound into peace. Discipline is supposed to buy you security. But for a lot of regular Americans, the opposite is happening. The more responsible they are, the more pressure they feel. That creates confusion, and confusion almost always turns inward. You start wondering what you're missing, what mistake you made, what you should have done earlier, and slowly, without realizing it, you accept stress as normal adulthood, as if being financially responsible means being permanently tense. But here's the uncomfortable truth, that stress isn't a personal failure. It's a signal that the system you were operating in no longer rewards the behaviors it taught you to trust. And when effort and outcome stop matching, the brain doesn't calm down. It stays alert because something feels wrong. Most people don't talk about this because it's hard to explain. Without sounding ungrateful, you have a job. You pay your bills. You're not reckless. So complaining feels inappropriate. You tell yourself others have it worse. You minimize your own discomfort. But stress doesn't care about comparisons. It shows up when stability feels fragile, even if things look fine from the outside. The real problem is that we were taught to associate doing the right thing with safety, save money, work hard, avoid risk, be responsible. Those rules made sense in a different environment, in a world where wages grew with costs, where stability was rewarded, where effort created margin. The world slowly disappeared, but the advice didn't. So now you're applying old rules to a new system and wondering why your body wants to relax. This is why money stress today feels different. It's not about fear of total collapse. It's about never feeling fully secure, always being one unexpected expense away from disruption, always needing to stay alert. That low-level vigilance is exhausting, and it builds over time. What makes this worse is that most financial advice ignores this emotional reality. It focuses on numbers, budgets, percentages. But stress isn't caused by spreadsheets. It's caused by exposure. By knowing that your safety depends on everything continuing to go right when your margin is thin. Your mind knows it, even if your budget looks healthy. This is where many people get stuck. They respond to stress by tightening further, saving more aggressively, cutting harder, delaying life even more. That feels responsible, but it often backfires because you're not addressing the source of the stress. You're just adding pressure to a system that's already stretched, and over time, that creates resentment. Not always loud resentment, quiet resentment toward work, toward money, toward a life that feels like it's always on hold. You did what you were told, yet peace never arrived. That gap between effort and relief is where frustration lies. To understand why the stress doesn't go away, even when you're doing fine, you have to look at what money represents now, not what it represented when the rules were written. Money used to be a buffer between effort and survival. Today, for many people, it feels more like a thin wall that could crack at any moment. And your brain knows that. The stress isn't coming from a lack of discipline. It's coming from a lack of margin. Margin is what allows mistakes, rest, and unexpected events without panic. When your life is built with very little margin, even good decisions feel heavy. Every choice matters too much. The constant importance keeps your nervous system activated. This is why raises don't fix the feeling. You earn more, but your obligations expand with it. Housing costs rise, insurance premiums increase, lifestyle expectations adjust, the number changes, but the exposure remains. So the stress follows you upward, not because you're ungrateful, but because the structure of your life still depends on everything going right. At some point, it becomes clear that responsibility alone doesn't create safety. Safety comes from flexibility, from options, from knowing that if something changes, you have room to respond. Without that, money becomes a source of vigilance instead of relief. Here's the shift that actually helps. Stop asking whether you're being responsible enough and start asking where you're most exposed. Exposure is what creates stress, not spending, not saving. Exposure, things like fixed obligations you can't easily adjust, income that depends on one source, expenses that rise without your control. When you identify exposure, you can start reducing it, and reducing exposure brings calm faster than saving ever did. This doesn't mean blowing up your life. It means making small, intentional moves that create breathing room, prioritizing flexibility over appearances, choosing stability that feels boring but works, building buffers that protect your time, not just your bank balance. These are not flashy changes, but they are powerful. Another important adjustment is psychological. You have to let go of the idea that stress means you're doing something wrong. In many cases, it means you're paying attention. The people who feel nothing are often the ones ignoring reality. Awareness isn't weakness, it's information. The goal isn't to eliminate all stress. That's unrealistic. The goal is to stop living in constant financial alert mode, to reach a place where money supports your life, instead of constantly demanding attention. That happens when your financial structure matches the world you're actually living in, not the one you were promised. This is also where comparison becomes dangerous. You'll always find someone who looks more successful, someone who seems calmer, someone who appears to have it figured out, but you don't see their exposure. You don't see their risks. Measuring yourself against appearances only deepens the stress. The truth is, many regular Americans feel exactly like you do. They just don't say it out loud. They assume they're the only ones who can't relax, the only ones who feel tense despite doing everything right. But this is a shared experience, not a personal defect. Once you stop blaming yourself, you can start designing differently. You can make decisions that prioritize peace over optics, margin over status, control over approval. Those choices don't always look impressive, but they change how your life feels on a daily basis. And that's the real test. Not how responsible you appear, not how well you follow the rules, but whether your financial life allows you to breathe. If it doesn't, the stress is telling you something important. Listening to it isn't failure. It's the first step toward building a system that actually supports you. You did everything right according to the old rules. That doesn't make you wrong. It means the rules changed. And once you accept that, you can stop chasing peace through discipline alone and start building it through structure, flexibility, and clarity.